Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So I will continue reading from the next paragraph. Next, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted another shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.15.43, which deals with the Kumars. When the Kumars entered the temple of the Lord, Kumars, they are four brothers and they are the sons of Lord Brahma. When we say son of Lord Brahma, daughter of Lord Brahma, it doesn't mean Lord Brahma has conceived these kids like normal, ordinary of all of us in the material world we do. Although Brahma Lok is also in the material world, but Brahma did not beget these children like ordinary uh, Jivatmas. So, through his meditation in different forms, these children have manifested. So, Kumars are also four sons of Brahma. And when they manifested, they were in a fully adult form. And Lord Brahma wanted them to um, go ahead and create further progeny to increase the human population, to increase the population in the material world. But the four Kumars, they were already in the liberated stage. Yesterday we saw how Srila Shukadev Goswami, he was in the liberated stage, but still he was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. And here, the example of the four Kumars, the sons of Brahma, they were also in the liberated stage. So they had no taste for any material desires or material life or anything to do with the material platform. So when Lord Brahma asked them to go ahead with creation, they humbly denied, and then they wanted to, since they were in the adult form, they did not even want any kind of material contamination to touch them. Therefore, they cursed themselves. They put a curse upon themselves that may they become like small children, small kids, small boys, 4 5 year old boys who never have any material. I mean, a 4 5 year old boy would never have um, any kind of this attraction towards the opposite gender. He will not have such kind of material desires. So therefore, the four Kumars, they became like small boys, and then they left from there, and they said they were curious to see that what is beyond this Brahmalok. Therefore, they started walking from Brahmalok upward and going to different spiritual skies, and then they come crossing the spiritual skies, they come to the Vaikuntha Lok, which was so beautiful. And there they start getting some aroma, a beautiful aroma, and they get very attracted to that aroma, to that fragrance, and they start walking in that direction. So when the Kumars, they entered the temple of the Lord in Vaikuntha, they were attracted by the aroma of the flowers and tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord with the pulp of sandalwood. This is how we serve our deities every day. We put Ganga Jal, we um, no, we take out the sandalwood pulp, and then we touch the tulsi leaves, we offer flowers, and we touch the flowers, we offer it to the lotus feet of the Lord. So that aroma was um, so alluring that the four Kumars got attracted that what is this aroma coming? Where is it coming from? We want to see what is it. Simply by the Kumars smelling the aroma of these offerings, their minds turned to the service of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, actually, when we offer this tulsi leaf at the lotus feet of the Lord, and when we again in the night, when we again have to put our deities to Shayan, they sleep at night. Before that, we take the tulsi leaf and we should honor them. And before honoring the tulsi leaves, offered tulsi leaves, we should also smell them, because that smell purifies our this entire system of smelling, the sense of smell. So simply by the Kumars smelling the aroma of these offerings, their minds turned to the service of the Supreme Lord. Although the Kumars were already liberated souls. So here again, second example, that they were already liberated souls, but still they got attracted to that aroma. And because they were smelling that aroma, therefore they got attracted to the service of the Supreme Lord. It is elsewhere stated in Bhagavatam 1.7.10 that even if one is a liberated soul and is actually free from all material contamination, he can still become attracted to the rendering the Supreme Lord devotional service. Why? What does it imply, or what does it being explained here? What does it mean that even if somebody is in the liberated stage, still they get attracted to the devotional service? Because when somebody is in the liberated stage, their senses are all controlled. But what Mahaprabhu is trying to say here is that although the senses of such liberated souls are fully controlled, they do not see what they don't want to see. They can control their smell of smelling, their smell of tasting, everything, their smell of touch, all those things. They are in complete control of their senses. Yet, the Supreme Lord is transcendental to everything and is all attractive. Therefore, Supreme Lord is called all attractive. That even these liberated souls, although their sense of smell is controlled, yet they went out of control in smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaves and the flowers that were offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is what it is meant. That even the liberated souls are attracted. They are free from material contamination. Their senses are in control. But devotional service means what? What does devotional service to the Lord mean? It means that we are using our senses in the service of the Lord. We are using the sense of smell in smelling the flowers, the garlands, the tulsi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. We are using our tongue, the taste, sense of taste, in honoring the prasadam of the Lord. It is not that now I'm a liberated, I'm in the liberated stage, therefore I can control my tongue, therefore I don't need to eat anything. But devotional service is honoring prasad. That is devotional service. I don't need to hear anything, but devotional service is listening, hearing about the Supreme Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, and the fully liberated souls, even they get attracted. Like Srila Shukdev Goswami, he was fully liberated, but he got attracted to hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So attracted that Lord Shiva had to run behind Srila Shukdev Goswami. So, so he can still become attracted to rendering the Supreme Lord devotional service that is causeless and unhampered by any material propensity. This is because God is so attractive. And because he is so attractive, he is called Krishna. Krishna means all attractive. Karshayati iti Krishna. Karshayati means one who attracts everyone. Therefore, his name is Krishna. But people think Krishna means Krishna, the word is Hindu, that means Hindu God. Hindus have a different God and we have a different God. No, God is one and God is called Krishna. In the Vedas, God has been called Krishna because Krishna means one who is all attractive, and God can only be that one person who is all attractive. If he's all attractive, he is God, and therefore he is Krishna. In this way, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to discuss the Atmaram verse from Srimad Bhagavatam with Prakashananda Saraswati. Lord Sri Chaitanya's admirer, the Maharashtrian Brahman, related that the Lord had earlier explained this verse in 61 different ways. I was just thinking about it, that Lord had already previously explained 61 different ways, after which there was a question, why are we doing all these? Because we can't remember any of this. But now Lord is again explaining the same Atmaram verse again. And this Maharashtrian Brahman who was accompanying the Lord, he's he's now relating, oh, before this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the same verse already in 61 different ways. Now, again, he's explaining the same verse. everyone assembled was very eager to hear the different versions of the Lord's explanation of the Atmaram Shlok. And since they were so eager, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again explained the shloka in the same way that he had explained to Sri Sanatan Goswami. Everyone who heard the explanations of the Atmaram Shlok was amazed. Indeed, everyone considered Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be none other than Sri Krishna himself. And with that, we come to the end of chapter 23. And Krishna willing, so I think we can read the first, yes. We'll read the first paragraph now and then we continue later tomorrow. So, chapter 24 talks with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Now, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is an incarnation of Brihaspati. And Brihaspati is the teacher of all the demigods. He knows all the Vedas, he knows all the Shastras because he is the teacher of the demigods. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is the incarnation of that same Brihaspati. So what happens? When Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya at Jagannath Puri, the Bhattacharya, being the greatest logician of the day, nobody can stand in front of him. He's the greatest logician. Wanted to teach the Lord Vedant philosophy. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, so an incident had happened when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the first day he reached Jagannath Puri, he hadn't entered. And before that, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is one of my very favorite pastimes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to take his Madhyan Snan. Madhyan Snan means the Brahmins, Brahman Vaishnavas or the devotees, they take bath 3 times in the three sandhya. So Madhyan is the 12 p.m. So the bath taken in the Madhyan is Madhyana Snan. And Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he handed his Tridanda, sorry, not Tridanda, he had one danda. Because he took sannyas from Mayavad, from the Mayavad, this thing, community, right? Keshav Bharati Maharaj. So he had one danda. Now this one danda means that one will just focus on their own bhajan. They are focused on their own this thing, studying. Tridandi means our Gaudiya Sampradaya, they are Tridandis because mind, body, and words. What is it? Manasa Karmana Vacha. That means mind, Karmana means activities, and Vacha means the words. So, in all ways, we will serve the Lord. So, and the Gaudiya, this our Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas under ISKCON, they are Goshtanandis. That means they want to increase, they like to discuss about the Supreme Lord with each other, not just stay alone, secluded place, and I will do my study and let the whole world go to hell. I don't care. It is not like that. They want to discuss with their like-minded devotees. So therefore, if there are no devotees around, how will they discuss? Therefore, increase the number of devotees. Therefore, start preaching. Give Krishna consciousness to everyone. Then when they become Krishna conscious, bring them all together, like we have come together, and then let's discuss about Krishna. That is the motive of Goshtanandis. And bhajananandis are who want to be at a secluded place and they just want to do their own bhajan and relish the rasa just themselves. They don't have the inclination to go out, and because see, when you have to preach, you have to move out of your comfort zone. And maybe you were relishing some rasa, but then because you have to preach, therefore you have to move out of that zone and meet people. People may not even, give that, entertain you also sometimes. Or maybe if they entertain you, it is just when they want. And otherwise they just okay, abhi ho gaya, chalo jao. It can be any, the situation can be anyhow, but still they take that pain. Let us preach, let us preach, so that the goshti increases. So and so that Ishta Goshti increases. So Koshtanandis, they feel happy when they can discuss, speak with each other the pastimes of their beloved. That is the Supreme Lord. So anyhow, it's a long pastime. So Mahaprabhu, he hands over his danda to Nityananda Prabhu and says, I will just go and take my Madhyana Snan and I will come. And Nityananda Prabhu is now Balram, and Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but now they are in this pastime. And Nityananda Prabhu looks at the danda and says, so there are many reasons, many reasons behind this. I will not get into all that detail. Nityananda Prabhu looks at the danda and says that Mahaprabhu is the supreme personality of Godhead. Why should he have all this danda? Because danda means the devotee, the sannyasi devotee is holding all the demigods on top of his head. This danda should never touch on the floor. So they are beholding the demigods and all the demigods on their lotus feet on their head. And now Nityananda Prabhu is thinking Mahaprabhu is the supreme personality of Godhead and everyone is at his lotus feet. Why should he hold a danda? There is no need for him to hold his danda. Then there are other reasons also. So what Nityananda Prabhu does is he breaks this danda into three parts and throws it in the Ganga, in the Ganges. And then Mahaprabhu comes and he says, okay, give me my danda. And Nityananda Prabhu says, that danda, yeah, that danda, I think it broke. Uh, it broke actually. So Mahaprabhu gets very angry. How did it break? How did it break? So Nityananda Prabhu says, Are Mahaprabhu, you are all the time singing kirtan and dancing, and sometimes you are becoming ecstatic, you are becoming unconscious, and you are falling off. And while holding you, that danda was in my hand, and while trying to hold you, it broke actually because you fell on me. That danda was in between. And so Mahaprabhu started giving all kinds of explanations. And Nityananda Prabhu started giving all kinds of excuses and explanations, and Mahaprabhu was very angry. Of course, internally Mahaprabhu knows everything because he is the Supreme Lord. He is Paramatma in everyone's heart. But externally Mahaprabhu was very angry because what is his mood? He came as a devotee, not to show that he is the Lord, not that he is the Supreme Lord. So therefore, he said, now all of you. So there was Nityananda Prabhu, there was Mukunda Datta, and there was Swarup Damodar. If I'm not mistaken. Please, I will check and confirm this if I'm not mistaken. These are the three devotees who were with Mahaprabhu when Mahaprabhu first reached Jagannath Puri. And at that time, uh, so Mahaprabhu said, now because my danda is broken, I am. It would have been better if I had come alone, because now all of you have come together, and this I have taken sannyas, and this is something that I should do. It is an etiquette. This is not right. Therefore, because now this danda has broken because of your fault, so therefore you will not come with me. I will go and you can come by yourself. You can do whatever you want, all three of you. So like that Mahaprabhu says, and then Mahaprabhu starts walking. And all three of them, they walk behind Mahaprabhu. Arey, Mahaprabhu, again he will start singing, again he will go ecstatic, again he will fall down. They also start running behind Mahaprabhu. They don't want to leave Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu starts, and then Mahaprabhu, as soon as he realizes that now this Lord Jagannath's darshan is just few meters away, Mahaprabhu again gets into ecstasy and he starts running like a mad person into the temple. And there, as soon as he runs inside the temple, um, and he sees the form of Lord Jagannath, he goes into extreme ecstasy and he just faints. And he faints in such a way that there is no movement and even his breathing stops, almost stops. because he goes into trance. And then at that time, these the guards, because many people, even nowadays it happens, you will see that many times people go to temples and suddenly they will say that, oh, the goddess has come and something has happened. So all these natak happens. Therefore, all this kind of drama is completely, um, in order to keep all this drama aside, the guards were given this kind of instruction that if you see anybody doing all these kind of drama, falling flat and showing symptoms of false, fake symptoms of ecstasy, just in order to get attention from the people, that people will say, oh, wow, this is such a great devotee, and let us now serve this devotee. So, all this kind of things happen. Therefore, the guards, thinking so, they ran towards Mahaprabhu, who was fallen flat on the floor. Thinking like that, they took their sticks, wanting to hit Mahaprabhu, thinking that he is faking his ecstasy. And at that very moment, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he comes, he's the head, he's managing everything there, he's the head there. He comes and he sees that these guards are running towards Mahaprabhu in order to hit him, thinking that he's faking his ecstasy. Therefore, immediately he just shows his hand and he says, get out from here, get lost. Because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he realizes that this sannyasi is somewhat different. He may not be faking it because he has been lying there for a long time, unconscious. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thinks that no, it is not possible that somebody can fake this thing for such a long time. Plus, this sannyasi is so effulgent. He is so young and he is so beautiful. I have never seen anybody in my life who is so beautiful, so effulgent, yet so soft and so, what to say? I mean, the this his body is so soft because he's so young. So therefore, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya immediately orders his servants that please pick him up with lot of respect and care and bring him to my chamber. And please make him lie down in my chamber. And there, what happens next, Krishna willing, we'll continue hearing and reading tomorrow. So, thank you very much, dear devotees, for your kind association. Panchakalpatrayashcha kripa sindhu devacha patikanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री श्रीमद शिव जय पताका स्वामी गुरु महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हिताय हरि हरि बोल।
Hari Bol.